Software development lifecycle will have a set of stages. There are very importantly, we have 5 stages. The first stage is that a software requirement gathering would happen by the business analyst with the client. Okay. Once the requirements, whatever the type of software they want, what kind of functionality they want, then the business analyst is going to prepare a document is called as a SRS document. That SRS document will be given to the designer. So the designer is going to form, the designer is going to be make, certain documents. They are, ER diagram. The software designer will prepare a ER diagrams, which is a entity relationship diagrams, flow diagrams, sequential diagrams, collaboration diagrams, isn't it? Class, object diagrams. So in fact, it is going to be a SRS, BRS document. Software requirement specifications and business requirement specification documents will be prepared by software designers. They will be also called as architectural diagrams. Architectural diagrams. Right. So once these documents will be prepared by the software designer, then obviously the next phase is going to be a software implementation. Who is going to involve in software implementation? Software developer, software coder, software programmer will involve. He will be develop a particular program with respect to the requirements given by the software designer. Okay. Once the software will be built as a prototype model, which is an executed file, the software testing engineer will be involved. He will be cross-verify any bugs or defects or failures would happen during the software working. That whole process is called, verification and validation is done in order to find out any uncovered defects and bugs will be exist in the software or not. Right? Yeah. Now, finally, we are going to, get software deployment stage. What is happens at the software development stage? So installation of a particular .exe file, executable file in a client location is called, software deployment process, which will be done by the, admin people. Like, that will be happen by the DevOps people. Nowadays, Azure DevOps and AWS DevOps. DevOps will be, agile methodology, all these deployment tools will be used to deploy the product in a target location. That's called, software deployment process. The whole process is look like this. The whole process will be looking like this. We have to plan the project. So what project we have to plan and what it requires, what is the budget it requires. Then the client will be given all these requirements to the business analyst who goes from a software company to the client location. These requirements will be gathered by the business analyst. Business analyst is a very intelligent guy who must have a domain knowledge. This guy will be gives the requirements to the designer. He will be prepare all the documents. The designer will give the, he will be analyzed. This two will be happens at a same stage. Then the designer will come. Then coding would happen. Coding will be given. The whole file will be to the testing engineer. Testing engineer will verify and validate. Then the deployment would happen. This is also known as a waterfall model, we can say. Very famous model called as a waterfall model. Isn't it? Now, this is the picturization or graphically designed how the levels of stages would happen while developing a particular software application. Right? Now, so just elaborating that, what exactly happens at each stage. So at a first stage, client requirements towards the software will be get collected. So at a second stage, we will be transform natural language information given by the client will be converted into ER diagrams. Okay. And that kind of a transformation designing diagrams into, code. Designing document will be converted into a code, right? In the testing stage, verification and validation would happen. Lastly, installation at a client location will be happens. So these are the different stages and where you are going to involve that you supposed to be understand, right? Yeah. Now, there are two types of methods we follow in order to test the software, whether it is working properly or not. That's I already told you, manual testing and automation testing. So what will happen at a manual testing basically? Manual is nothing but a human intervention is going to be happen. Human existence is happens. It requires. Yeah. Any software application or hardware application will be tested manually with test cases and generates the reports without any third-party tool. We are not going to use any kind of a software tools. Simply, we will be write set of possible test case to validate what will happen if this test case would happen. Yes or no? Like that, manually we have to test the application. It can be a mobile application, it can be a software application, it can be a Mac application, right? Yeah. In automation testing, what happens? Will be transform manual test cases into a test script. It requires a programming language knowledge. Please try to understand. Here we are transformation manual test cases will be converted into test script. In order to convert into test script, we require a programming language that we are using now, Python script, which is we are going to use Python script we are using in order to write the test cases in order to validate and verify a particular application is working properly or not. Is there any defects or not? Is there any bugs or not? Is there any failures or not? All these operations and all these test cases are going to be written the code accordingly without human intervention. Means human intervention is not required. Automatically program will be converted and it will be check. Right. Now, some more things we have to understand about manual testing strategies. So in the manual testing strategies, there will be a static testing would happen. Static means it's not dynamic. Very basic static functionality can be tested. All types of test cases cannot be tested using manual testing. So here I brought in, without executing an application, identify the defects, which is called verification, isn't it? So it includes, we have to conduct a peer reviews, means we'll be discuss about product between reporting managers, between the testing engineers. Many people will be gathered, senior people and junior people will be conduct a review about particular application. What sort of test cases are possible? Are they working properly or not? And we'll be designing the documents, will be walkthroughs and inspections, spelling mistakes in the application, labels, all these manually we are going to check whether the application is up to the mark or not, whether the application is up to the mark or not, isn't it? This is called, what, static testing will be conducted by the manual testing. The same manual testing, dynamic testing is also going to be conducted. So that is going to be, what, there are certain methods. The certain methods are like white box testing concept. White box testing means what? Whether the developer written code is correctly flowing execution properly or not. That's called, what? White box testing. White box testing means whatever the code has written by the developer, whether the code is infinite loop, whether the code is having any kind of a cohesion problem, coupling problem, functions are interacting each other or not, all these possible flow related, structure related programs will be tested using unit testing, which is called, what, white box testing, we can say. Even though BBT is nothing but black box testing, that's also known as a, functional testing. So similarly, we'll be conduct a system testing, integration testing, user acceptance testing. These are the dynamic possible test methods in order to conduct the dynamic manual testing. So validate whether the sign in the button is correctly working or not will be comes under, it will be a dynamic testing. Yes or no? So likewise, there are plenty of possibilities, which is going to be a static testing, which is going to be a dynamic testing based on the application it is going to be determined. Right? So here we have to understand that within the manual testing conducted static testing as well as a dynamic testing. Right? Let us go to the automation testing. So performing the testing activities by using some automation tool is called automation testing. Automation means, see, hardly you can test one application or two application or three application per minute. Can you test 100 application per minute? It's highly difficult for you to test. But if you write a program using a script, we can execute, millions of application per minute. Yes or no? So the performing the test activities completely by the third party tool is called, what? Automation testing using programming. Now, so what are the tools we are using in order to perform the automation testing for our particular application? Like it can be software application, it can be a mobile application. Like, earlier we had, there is a tool is called as a QTP, Quick Test Professional. It's it is a testing tool, which is also known as a, uniform functional testing tool, isn't it? So that was the tool which was there, but it is a licensed tool. Therefore, we are not using right now. Now we are using most of the percent. There is a tool is called as a Selenium. Selenium is the tool which is a framework on which we can write a program. We can automate to check the testing of a particular application. That Selenium is the automation tool. Similarly, we had Lisa is the tool, Tosca is the tool, Windrunner is a tool, Test Complete is also a tool. RPA tools like robotic process automation tools, robot testing, UI path, Blue Prism. There are plenty of tools we have in order to automate the Cypress. There will be certain tools we have. So there will be licensed. Some of them are open source. Based on this type of a tool, companies will be prefer accordingly. We have to learn, right? Yeah. So do you have any questions about difference between the manual and as well as automation? So let's just give you exact difference between automation and manual. So manual required human interaction to execute the test cases, whereas automation uses tools to develop and execute the test scripts. Okay. So manual testing required a skilled resources, long term, will be high cost. See, let's suppose if he 10 years experienced guy, if you are a skilled man, he will be a demand for the more salary. As your progressive of your experience would increase, he will be a demand for more salary. Therefore, the cost will be little more for the manual skilled man. Whereas automation will save the time, cost, as well as manpower also. 100 testing engineers, manual testing engineers is equal to one automation testing engineer, because he might be cost 15 lakhs salary. But if I maintain 100 employees, it might be goes to 1 crore for 10 employees. Therefore, to save the money, to save the time, to save the resources, automation testing is high demanding, and it is expected also. So any kind of application can be tested manually. Means either maybe a Mac application or mobile application, any kind of application can be tested. Using automation, some of the application can be tested because of resource problems, because of accessibility problems. Only stable applications can be tested, and it is used for the regression testing. Right? So this is the difference between manual and as well as automation testing. Right? Now, obviously, we discussed about what exactly verification and validation. Let's see the difference between them. The process of verifying whether the application is implemented correctly or not is a verification. Where validation means process of validating whether application meets the client requirements or not is the validation. Verification won't require execution of an application. Validation requires the execution of an application. Verification, also known as a static testing, means a user or end user can also be tested. Validation only does by the dynamic testing engineer. Yeah, that's the difference between verification and validation. Yeah, some more example, we can perform verification by using the methods. Peer reviews, walkthroughs, inspections, all this can be done by verification. Validation, we can perform validation whether maybe white box testing or maybe a black box testing, which is a functional testing. During verification, it finds the bugs, defects early in the development of life cycle, which very essential with respect to the cost. Before developing an application can also be tested whether bugs are likely to be possible in the application or not. But validation, it finds the bugs and defects which is not identified in verification, very costly. Because after building the application, we are going to check whether bugs or defects are existing in the application or not, which is not possible before application will be building, because it is an executable part. Right? Yes. Right. Next is that these are all terminologies. I hope you are understanding what I'm talking about. Testing and debugging are the two important terminologies. So testing is a process of verification and validation which fulfills the client requirements or not, whether the application contains any defects or not. Whereas debugging, process of analyzation, source code of an application is identify root cause for the defect. That's a different. Any defect occurs, what would be the root cause for throwing a defect will be resolved, will be given by the debugging process. Okay. Testing will be performed by the testing engineer only, but debugging will be performed by the developer. Debugging will be performed by the developers. Testing will be performed as part of the testing phase, but debugging will be performed obviously as part of the white box testing or unit testing is important stage where debugging process can be applied. Right? Yes. So now being a testing engineer, what are the roles you are going to play? Obviously, before application handover by the designer like coder to the developer, they begin performing any tests. Testers will need to review and analyze the specifications of their company software. Before going to write any test cases, you have to be analyze reviews and you have to analyze the documents which are like a BRS and SRS documents you have to analyze. So this involves going work for code, familiarizing oneself with the software objectives and evolving the system requirements. Once this analyzation of specification is done, then you are going to develop the tests. After they have analyzed the software specifications, testers must collaborate with a quality assurance team, which is the quality assurance engineers, to develop the comprehensive test plans. Right? So those plans are going to be used as a blueprint for the testing process. Right? So you have being a testing engineer, don't say that I'm a testing engineer. There will be designations will be different. Quality assurance will be different. Quality analysis is different. Testing role will be different. There will be different people will be involved in the software development life cycle and testing cycle. So here, so we have to take a quality assurance, that particular engineer's documents, and we have to plan test plans accordingly. Right? Yeah. Now after you prepare the test cases, now we are going to execute. Once they have developed effective test plans, testers will execute the test onto the programming languages, onto the tools. Testers can be either automated or maybe manual. Firstly, we are going to develop with the manual test scripts, then that will be tested automatically. Right? Yeah. So roles of software tester skills. So document bugs, as such, as each test will be executed, testers will be required to record bugs. Whenever the system is behaving abnormally, so we have to make a note recording a particular bugs for the future purpose in order to show to the project managers and project review, like your superiors. These documents are going to be used by the developers in order to refine, in order to fine tune the software product functionalities. Right? Okay. Now, troubleshoot issues, oftenly testers will need to do more, identify bugs, and they need to be help the developers think ways to fix their bugs. And if once the software developer will be modify the program according to your complaints, then again you are going to conduct the test is called as regression test. Even after software product has been released to the public or maybe market, testers must continue to test the software on ongoing basis. That's also known as regression testing, which ensures software will be improved the time keep on increases. Right? Yeah. So obviously, being a testing engineer, you will be work in a different environment. Like they will be, development environment. Team will be develop application based on client requirements. And testing environment, after project deployed at a test environment, validation and verification done by the testing team. And UAT testing environment means user acceptance testing. Client team will be involved to validate application in order to confirm project is acceptable or not. That's called as a user acceptance test. Finally, production environment. In this environment, the user with the real data and supply to the app. So there are 4 environments you are going to see. Development environment, where you will be conduct alpha testing, testing environment, user acceptance environment, and production environment. You will be find 4 types of locations where you will be work being a testing engineer. Right? Yeah. So this is the the today's demonstration towards most of the important things we have covered as part of the fundamental terminologies in related to testing is concerned. So if you have any questions so far, you can ask me.
సార్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ డిప్లాయ్మెంట్ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ టెస్ట్ ఇంజనీర్లు చేస్తారా లేకుంటే డెవలపర్లు చేస్తారా సార్ లేకుంటే బిజినెస్ అనలిస్టులు చేస్తారా?
నో 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 డెవాప్స్ ఇంజనీర్స్ చేస్తారు. దాన్ని మనము కంటిన్యూస్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ అండ్ సిఐసిడి అని అంటాం. యాక్చువల్ సీనియర్ టెస్టింగ్ ఇంజనీర్లు కూడా చేస్తారు. ఇప్పుడు డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ లెవెల్ ఆఫ్ కంపెనీ. అంటే కంపెనీ చిన్న కంపెనీ ఉంటే సిఎంఎం లెవెల్ 2-3 కంపెనీస్ ఉంటే testing engineer only act as a white box tester. He only act as a black box tester. Sometimes he will do. Otherwise, there will be a deployment DevOps team, or else admins under what maintenance team under. They might not be a testing engineer. They might not be a developer. They will be a different class of a people. DevOps engineer anochu, Scrum master anochu, వాళ్ళని admins anochu. There will be different teams. Any questions? Imran, Ramohan, Sivashankar, Shruti.
అది డిప్లాయ్ సార్, ఒక అప్లికేషన్ డిప్లాయ్ చేసిన తర్వాత దాన్ని మెయింటైన్ చేసేది కూడా ఆ టీమేనా సార్? డిప్లాయ్మెంట్ టీమ్.
కరెక్ట్ డిప్లాయ్మెంట్ టీమ్ వాళ్ళే DevOps ఇంజనీర్స్ అంటారు.
ఓకే.
Yes, DevOps engineers, DevOps consultants. సో వన్స్ డిప్లాయ్మెంట్కి వెళ్ళిపోయిన తర్వాత టెస్టింగ్ ఇంజనీర్ దాన్ని టచ్ చేయడు, దాని గురించి ఆలోచించడు. బట్ ఇన్ కేస్ ఎనీ ఎర్రర్స్ విల్ బి త్రో, రోల్ బ్యాక్ అవుతుంది. DevOps ఇంజనీర్
డెవలపర్ టెస్టర్ ఇద్దరు ఇన్వాల్వ్మెంట్ ఉండాలా?
ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ కరెక్ట్. ఏదైనా డిప్లాయ్మెంట్ అయిన తర్వాత ఎర్రర్స్ ఏమన్నా బగ్స్ కానీ ఎర్రర్స్ కానీ ఫెయిల్యూర్స్ వస్తే deployment engineer will inform to you. You are going to eventually inform to the developer.
Okay.
Yes. ఒకవేళ మీ ఇద్దరిది తప్పు లేకుండా డిజైనర్స్ ఏమైనా తప్పు ఉన్నాయనుకో, అప్పుడు స్క్రమ్ కాల్ లో అందరూ ఇన్వాల్వ్ అవుతారు.
ఓకే.
యా
రైట్.
Shruti, do you have any questions? Are you understanding?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay. So tomorrow onwards, we'll have a hands-on knowledge about about Selenium and all. So please, we have to be thoroughly about Python programs and all. I think you can understand how exactly things would happen.
Okay. Offline class or online class?
What?
Offline class undo, online class undo.
Yes. రేపు ఆఫ్లైన్ ఉండొచ్చు. అక్కడ కొద్దిగా కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ జరుగుతుంది శృతి, మన బిల్డింగ్ కింద. సో కొద్దిగా నాయిస్ వస్తుంది, దానివల్ల క్లాస్ తీసుకోలేకపోతుంది. అందుకోసం ఆన్లైన్ తీసుకోవాలి ఇంటి దగ్గర నుంచి.
రేపు ఆఫ్లైన్ అయితే నేను వస్తాను సార్, అందుకని అడుగుతున్నా.
దట్స్ గ్రేట్. యూ కెన్.
సార్ నేను మెసేజ్ పెట్టాను సార్, అది ఇంటర్వ్యూ.
ఎస్ ఐ నో.
అక్కడ ఆఫీస్ దగ్గరికి రావాలా సార్?
నేను చెప్తాను కాల్ చేస్తాను.
సరే సార్.
ఈవినింగ్ వరకు ఇన్ఫార్మ్ చేస్తారా సార్ రేపు ఆఫ్లైన్ ఉందా ఆన్లైన్ ఉందా?
Yes. I am going to office now. I'll inform to you.
Okay.
Tomorrow we'll have a offline or online class. నేను పెడతాను లేదు శృతి, వాట్సాప్ గ్రూప్ లో.
ఓకే ఈవినింగ్ వరకు చెప్పండి సార్.
Yes, sure.
ఓకే
సార్, నాకు అది చెప్తే ఒకసారి 3 లోపు 3కి అక్కడికి వచ్చేస్తాను సార్. 3:30.
సరే. Yeah. So I think there are no questions. Shivashankar, Imran.